Alright, so this video is just going over some of the environmental concerns that Canada faces. And just as a reminder, during this video, you're going to be completing the guided notes that go along with the slideshow. And anytime that you see yellow words that are underlined, like this right here, that's going to be your answer on the guided notes. So you can pause the video at any time and make sure that you're getting the right answers as we go through each particular slide. So Canada faces a number of environmental issues. It has many natural resources. It can use both for its own people and for trade with other countries. Some of these natural resources are renewable, meaning that they renew themselves over time, and some are not. Some are non-renewable natural resources. So they have to find ways to carefully manage both types of renewable and non-renewable resources so that the environment isn't damaged. So again, remember, here's an answer, something that you need to have down in your guided notes. Industries help Canada have a good economy with a high standard of living, which is a great thing that we experience in our modern society today. But factories are a source of pollution, and Canada must find ways to keep its industries alive without destroying the environment along with it. Acid rain is a huge problem. Factories produce a lot of pollutants in Canada, just like they do in the United States. So coal-burning power plants, cars, and trucks are also polluters of the air. Sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides are especially dangerous. When these pollutants are put into the air, they mix with the water molecules and they make the water acidic. And the clouds are rain droplets that are acidic, basically equals acid rain, which is not a very healthy thing at all. So you can see just kind of from this diagram exactly how that takes place. You can see all the pollution that's going up into the air, and then when it gets transformed up here in the clouds, and it's going to come down as precipitation, and that pollution still carries over all the way around to us and can get into our streams, into our water. Acid rain causes many problems in the environment. It can kill plants, damage or kill trees, or pollute lakes and rivers enough to kill the fish. Property can also be damaged. Some cities' acid rain has dissolved the stone used in statues. So you can see that here, disfiguring the original artwork. Canada has passed laws to limit the pollution. Governments worked with factory owners to build factories that don't pollute the air. And government also encourages Canadians to walk, ride bikes, or take the bus instead of driving their cars. But Canada can't solve the problem of air pollution and resulting acid rain on their own. In parts of southern Canada, there's your answer again, 50% to 75% of the air pollution that causes the acid rain in Canada actually comes from us, from the United States. Wind patterns tend to move the pollution from the U.S. north into Canada. So one of the other results is the pollution of the Great Lakes. Industries and people in Canada depend on water from the Great Lakes, and we've talked about that in class. They use the water to drink in the processes of their factories. Because the Great Lakes are shared between the United States and Canada, it's important for them to work together to keep their lakes and environment clean and healthy. But by the 1970s, the Great Lakes were becoming known for their pollution, as you can kind of see in this picture right here. The factories around the Great Lakes had been using the lakes as a cheap dumping ground, which was not very good at all. 1972, governments of both the U.S. and Canada signed an agreement to begin reduction of phosphorus. And this is a chemical used in fertilizer, pesticides, toothpaste, detergent, explosives. It's bad for the lakes because large quantities can cause a rapid increase in algae, called an algae bloom, is what you see right here. The Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement between the U.S. and Canada was signed in 1971 and also renewed in 2000. But the two countries are still working together to make sure that chemicals that could poison animals and people are not put into the lakes and to reduce the amount of human waste dumped into lakes. The other problem is in Canada that they experience is the extraction and use of natural resources of the Canadian Shield. And we've talked about what exactly the Canadian Shield is pretty good bit. But the Canadian Shield is a large area of uplands surrounding the Hudson Bay, covering most of the eastern half of Canada. And the really big important thing to remember was that the soil in the Canadian Shield is thin and rocky, and beneath the soil is one of Canada's most valuable resources, the minerals, the gold, silver, copper, zinc, iron, uranium, nickel, all that stuff is really coming from the Canadian Shield. The most valuable of these minerals available in Canada are located within the Canadian Shield. About 1.5 million people make their living, 1.5 million people make their living in the mining industry in the Canadian Shield. Mining can be messy work. The land around the mines can be damaged, and the environment can be ruined. Blasting and digging with heavy machinery are common parts of mining. The mining process can also spew sulfur dioxide into the air, producing acid rain, like we talked about before. Chemicals from mines are also dumped directly into the lakes and rivers and killing the plant and animal life as well. The Canadian Shield's minerals are also located near the most populated areas of Canada. The government's made new laws about mining. Some reduce the amount of pollution allowed into the waterways. And Canada's timber industry is also a concern for the environment as well. There's vast, large forests. We've talked about that in Canada. You can see that on your map, just how much of the area is covered in forests for the most part, and cover almost 50% of all the land in Canada. Canadians have made this natural resource very, very important to their economy. And forests play an important role in the environment of Canada. Animals and plants, they depend on the habitat for the forest to live. They provide oxygen to breathe, and they filter pollutants from the air. So all these trees are extremely, extremely important to the environment in Canada. But Canadian citizens are worried that logging will destroy forests and the benefits they provide. The major concern is the use of clear cutting, where timber companies cut down all the trees in a given area, leaving large treeless gaps in the forest, like what we see here in this picture right here and this picture over there. The results of clear cutting include reduced water quality, erosion of the soil, and the loss of wildlife habitat to go along with it. Heavy machinery can also leave the forest floor compacted, which makes it difficult for the new growth of trees to begin as well. And lastly, concerning this issue, Canada's government and the timber industries are working together to manage the use of the forests. And so hundreds of millions of seeds and seedlings are planted each year. Billions of dollars are spent managing and protecting the forest. Over $100 million is spent each year by the logging industry to protect wildlife and their habitat. So you can see in this picture that they're basically growing new trees purposefully to try to end this issue, this environmental issue in Canada. So I hope this has been a help to you, and don't forget to just make sure you got all your answers in the guided notes.